Hello, my friends. Today I want to talk to you about something that's not always easy to talk about, but it's crucial to our emotional health and well-being, recognizing the warning signs of someone who might not have our best interests at heart. And when I say someone, I mean those women who wear a mask of charm and sweetness, but have something entirely different beneath the surface. It's not about judging others. It's about empowerment, giving you the tools to protect yourself. It's about knowing your worth and understanding that you deserve a life filled with love, peace, and respect. Have you ever been in a situation where your gut said something's off, but you ignored it? Oh, I've been there, and I'm telling you, your intuition is never wrong. That little voice inside you is your internal compass, guiding you towards what feels right and steering you away from what doesn't. If you feel like something's wrong, don't just brush it off. Listen to it. Now let's talk about manipulation. It's not always loud and obvious. Sometimes it's very sneaky. Maybe you found yourself in a situation where suddenly you're feeling guilty for things that aren't even your fault. Maybe you've been made to believe that your needs don't matter. That's manipulation, my friends. And when you realize this is happening, you must take a step back. Don't let anyone make you doubt your worth. Another warning sign is control. It starts with small requests. Maybe she asks you to spend more time with her and less with your friends. Maybe she tries to dictate your every move, but it grows. Suddenly you're isolated, and that's when you need to say, enough is enough. You deserve relationships where you're supported, not controlled. You know, love lifts us up. But if someone is always putting you down, criticizing your actions, your thoughts, your dreams, that's not love. True love uplifts, it doesn't tear you down. No one should make you feel like you're not good enough. Honesty is the foundation of any relationship, and if you feel like you're being lied to, it's time to pay attention. When you find yourself questioning what's true and what's false, it's a sign that things aren't right. Transparency is key. If there's secrecy, there's trouble. Let's talk about jealousy for a moment. Yes, we all feel it from time to time, but if it's extreme, it can become a tool for control. If she's accusing you of things you've never done, or if she's trying to control who you can talk to and be around, this is not normal. Healthy relationships are about trust, not possessiveness. Have you ever had someone make you feel like you're crazy? Like you imagined something that clearly happened? That's called gaslighting, and it's one of the most harmful tactics used by someone trying to gain control over your reality. Don't let them rewrite your truth. Trust your own mind. A lack of empathy is another red flag. If someone can't understand your emotions, if they don't care when you're hurting, or if they belittle your feelings, this is a huge sign that they're not emotionally mature. And honey, you deserve someone who will care about your heart the same way you care about theirs. You know how sometimes people can charm the pants off you? At first, everything seems perfect, but be careful, because sometimes that charm hides a darker intention. The kindness is only to get what they want. They don't have your best interests at heart. Lastly, let's talk about accountability. If she never takes responsibility for her actions, always deflecting blame onto others or refusing to acknowledge her mistakes, that's a huge red flag. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and taking responsibility. We all make mistakes, but it's how we own up to them that matters. So trust yourself, trust your instincts, and never settle for less than you deserve. Your happiness starts with you. You see, our instincts are powerful. They've been honed over thousands of years, helping us survive, protecting us from danger, and alerting us when things aren't as they seem. But in today's world, we've been taught to ignore them, to rationalize, to dismiss, to second guess. We think that if we can't prove something with facts or logic, it doesn't matter. But I'm here to tell you, your intuition matters. It's the most honest, real, and reliable thing you have. If you feel like something is off, it is off. If you feel uneasy in someone's presence or something doesn't sit right in your heart, it's time to pay attention. You may find yourself in a relationship at work or in a friendship where everything seems fine on the surface, but there's a nagging feeling you can't shake. It's subtle, isn't it? That feeling that maybe things aren't what they appear. Don't dismiss it. That's your intuition at work. We've all been there feeling like we should trust someone, but something inside says, hold up. Take a step back, and far too often we push those feelings aside because we don't want to appear paranoid or unreasonable. But in doing so, we ignore the very thing that can protect us. We ignore our own truth. The most dangerous part of ignoring our instincts is that over time, we begin to second guess ourselves. We begin to think, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm too sensitive, and that's when we lose our power. But if you trust yourself, if you honor that feeling, then you're protecting your peace, your heart, and your future. In relationships, especially, this can make all the difference. Have you ever been in a situation where someone's actions don't line up with their words? Maybe they tell you they care about you, but their behavior shows a completely different story. That's when your intuition steps in. That's when you need to ask yourself, am I seeing the real picture? Or am I ignoring the warning signs because I want to believe in something that might not be true? Your instincts will always point you toward what's real. They'll show you the truth when it's right in front of you, even if you don't want to see it. Don't let anyone or anything override what you know to be true deep inside. Trust your instincts because they are rarely wrong. They are not here to lead you astray. They are here to protect you, to help you navigate the world in a way that serves your highest good. And when you listen to them, when you trust them, you'll find that your life unfolds in ways that feel authentic, safe, and true to you. Manipulation in disguise is something that often creeps in slowly, almost imperceptibly, until one day you look up and realize you've been twisted and turned in ways that leave you feeling small, uncertain, and drained. It doesn't come with flashing lights or loud alarms. No, it's subtle. It hides behind smiles, kind words, and seemingly innocent actions. In the beginning, it might even feel flattering, someone taking an interest in your life, telling you what you want to hear, making you feel special. But over time, you begin to see the cracks, the little nudges that steer you away from what you want toward what they want. Manipulation isn't always about obvious control or obvious cruelty. It often wears the mask of concern, love, or even protection. You may find that someone is constantly looking out for you in ways that at first seem caring and helpful. They may go out of their way to offer advice or make suggestions, but over time you start to notice a pattern. Their concerns are really just ways of making you feel as though you can't trust your own judgment, or as though you need them to tell you what's best for you. It's a soft erosion of your autonomy, a subtle reminder that their way is the only right way. At first, you might feel confused. You might wonder, is this really happening? Am I reading the situation correctly? That's part of the manipulation, the confusion. A manipulator doesn't always come out and say, you should do this. But instead, they find ways to make you feel like you have no other choice. They'll twist your words, change the context of your actions, or guilt trip you into doing things you wouldn't normally do. The more they play on your emotions, the more you begin to doubt yourself. One of the clearest signs of manipulation in disguise is when someone consistently uses your vulnerabilities against you. We all have moments where we are vulnerable, where we open up and share things that are close to our hearts. A manipulative person sees these moments as an opportunity, not to offer support, but to take advantage of your emotional openness. They may use your past mistakes or fears to shame you into doing something or to make you feel like you owe them something. Their help isn't truly helpful. It's a way of keeping you indebted to them, keeping you off balance so that they can maintain control. Manipulation often thrives on emotional dependency. The manipulator creates a dynamic where you feel as though you cannot make decisions without them, or you cannot live without their guidance and support. This makes you more and more reliant on their approval or their version of the truth. And when you're emotionally dependent, it's harder to see the manipulation for what it is because you're already caught up in the cycle. The danger in this kind of manipulation is that it can leave you questioning your own reality. If someone constantly twists your words or denies your experiences, you may begin to think, maybe I'm the problem, maybe I'm the problem, maybe I'm the one overreacting. This is a powerful and insidious tactic because it undermines your confidence in your ability to trust your own perception of events. The more you doubt yourself, the less likely you are to stand up for what you need, and the easier it is for the manipulator to continue their control. So what do you do when you recognize manipulation in disguise? The first step is to trust your instincts. It's just, if something feels off, if you feel like you're being made to feel guilty for things that aren't your fault, don't dismiss it. Pay attention to your emotions and recognize the patterns. When you feel emotionally drained or confused, ask yourself, is this really about me? Or is this about them trying to control the situation? Start to set boundaries, strong, healthy boundaries that prioritize your own needs and protect your peace. The key is to recognize that manipulation is never about love. Love, true support is empowering. It allows you to be your authentic self and encourages you to make your own decisions. Manipulation, on the other hand, weakens your confidence and makes you feel like you're walking on eggshells. The more you allow manipulation to continue, the more you lose sight of your own power. Remember, you are worthy of respect and you deserve relationships that lift you up, not drain you. You deserve honesty, transparency, and care that doesn't come with strings attached. Recognizing manipulation in disguise is a crucial step toward reclaiming your power and ensuring that you never settle for anything less than what you truly deserve. Don't let anyone, no matter how charming or kind they appear, make you doubt yourself or your worth. You have the strength to break free from any form of manipulation and to live a life that is authentic, free, and full of joy. Control and isolation are two of the most subtle and dangerous tactics used by toxic people, and they often go hand in hand. In the beginning, you might not even notice when it's happening. The behavior can feel protective at first, or even like love. Someone might seem to have your best interests at heart, asking you to spend more time with them, urging you to avoid certain people, or guiding you to make decisions that they believe are best for you. But over time, these actions begin to erode your independence and sense of self. You start to realize that little by little, your world has become smaller and smaller and the walls are closing in around you. The first step is always gradual. Maybe it begins with small requests. Perhaps they want you to cancel plans with a friend or stay home instead of going out. It might seem harmless at first, especially if they justify it with reasons like wanting to spend more quality time together or protecting you from situations that might make you uncomfortable. But as these requests become more frequent, something shifts. You start feeling guilty for even wanting to spend time with other people. You begin to prioritize their needs over your own, and before you know it, you're regularly cutting ties with people who once mattered to you. The manipulation becomes more evident when this control takes root in other areas of your life. Maybe they suddenly criticize your friends or family, planting seeds of doubt in your mind. They might tell you that the people around you don't truly care about you, or that they're a bad influence. Suddenly, your social circle feels smaller, and you find yourself more and more dependent on the toxic person for validation and support. At this point, you may not even realize how isolated you've become because it happens so gradually. One by one, the people you once connected with fade away, replaced by someone who insists they know what's best for you. The isolation tactic works because it creates a power imbalance. The more isolated you become, the more control they can have over you. Without the support of family and friends, you become emotionally dependent on the person controlling you. You may start to rely on them for everything: emotional support, decision-making, and even validation. It's an insidious process because at the beginning they might genuinely appear caring, but over time their actions become less about love and more about maintaining control. Isolation doesn't always mean physical distance. Sometimes it's emotional isolation where you're surrounded by people, but you don't feel heard, seen, or understood. A manipulative person may belittle your emotions, dismiss your opinions, or make you feel like your thoughts don't matter. You're left in a constant state of self-doubt, questioning whether the issue is with you or them. This emotional isolation keeps you from seeking help or even recognizing the problem for what it is. You might feel like you're the only one who truly understands the situation, and this is exactly what the controller wants. As the isolation deepens, so does the control. They might start making decisions for you, telling you what to wear, where to go, and who to spend time with. They may push you into feeling like you have no other options. At this point, you may start to feel stuck. You've been so cut off from the people and things that once gave you strength and clarity that you don't know how to get out. You might even start questioning whether you deserve better or if you're being unreasonable for wanting your freedom back. One of the most dangerous aspects of control and isolation is how it chips away at your self-esteem. You start to question your ability to make decisions on your own. You begin to doubt your judgment and rely more and more on the person who is slowly eroding your sense of self. The truth is, the more they control you, the less you feel like you're capable of standing on your own. The less control you have over your own life, the more power they gain. It's important to recognize these warning signs before the isolation and control get too entrenched. Pay attention to how you feel after interactions with this person. Do you feel empowered and supported, or do you feel drained, confused, and anxious? Do you feel like you're giving up parts of yourself, your beliefs, your passions, your connections with others in order to maintain peace? If so, it's time to take a step back and evaluate the relationship. True love and friendship don't isolate you, they empower you. The antidote to control and isolation is boundaries, learning how to say no and standing firm in your decisions, even if it makes the other person uncomfortable. It's about taking back your power, rebuilding your connections with others, and reminding yourself that you are worthy of relationships that respect your autonomy and individuality. It's also about being brave enough to ask for help when you feel like you're losing your way. You deserve relationships where you are free to be yourself, where your individuality is celebrated and not stifled. You deserve a life where you can maintain your connections, pursue your interests, and feel loved and supported without fear of judgment or isolation. Recognizing control and isolation for what they are is the first step in breaking free from their grip. The road to recovery starts with acknowledging that you have the power to reclaim your life, your freedom, and your joy. And no one, not even someone who claims to love you, has the right to take that away. Constant criticism and undermining are some of the most damaging tactics used to erode someone's confidence and self-worth. It often starts off as small comments or offhand remarks, but over time, it builds into a pattern that makes you feel like you're never good enough no matter what you do. At first, you might write it off as someone just giving you constructive feedback or trying to help you be better. But when the criticism becomes frequent, excessive, and even personal, you begin to see it for what it really is, an attempt to chip away at your self-esteem and make you feel small, weak, and incapable. When someone constantly criticizes you, it often feels like nothing you do will ever be right. They might nitpick your choices, your actions, your appearance, or the way you express yourself. The criticism isn't limited to what you do, it can extend to who you are as a person. You may find yourself questioning your abilities or doubting your worth. Why can't I do anything right becomes a thought you repeat over and over. It can feel exhausting, like no matter how hard you try, you'll never meet their standards. One of the insidious things about constant criticism is that it's not always direct. It might be disguised as helpful advice or guidance. They might say things like, "You could do this better if you just listen to me," or "I'm only saying this because I care about you." But over time, these so-called suggestions add up. The more they criticize, the less confident you feel in your own judgment, and the more you start to rely on them to tell you what's right and wrong. This undermines your ability to trust yourself, making you more vulnerable to manipulation and control. Undermining, though closely related, operates on a different level. While criticism attacks you directly, undermining seeks to diminish your achievements and belittle your strengths. It's a way of making you feel that no matter how hard you work or what you accomplish, it's never enough. When you share a success or something you're proud of, they might downplay it or dismiss it entirely. Instead of celebrating your accomplishments with you, they may say things like, "Oh, that wasn't so hard," or "Anyone could have done that." This diminishes the value of your effort, making you feel like your accomplishments are trivial or unimportant. At times, undermining can be more subtle, but just as destructive. It may come in the form of backhanded compliments, where they tell you something that sounds nice but actually has a sting beneath the surface. They might say, "You look good today," for once, or "That's a nice idea, but I think you should do it my way to make it work." These types of comments make you feel like you don't deserve praise unless it's on their terms. And when you constantly hear this type of backhanded compliment, you start to internalize the belief that you're only worthy of approval if it's granted by them. One of the most damaging aspects of constant criticism and undermining is that it causes you to second guess yourself. You begin to wonder, am I just being sensitive? Am I being too emotional? Maybe they're right, I shouldn't feel this way. This creates confusion, making it harder to trust your own thoughts and emotions. And the longer it continues, the more deeply ingrained these doubts become. You might even find yourself apologizing for things you shouldn't have to apologize for, or constantly trying to prove yourself to someone who can never be satisfied. The cycle becomes self-perpetuating. You start to feel like you're not enough. And so you try harder only to be met with more criticism and more undermining. Eventually, the weight of this criticism begins to take its toll on your mental and emotional health. You might feel drained, anxious, and insecure. You may avoid taking risks or pursuing things you're passionate about because you fear being judged or criticized. You might even start to withdraw from others because you feel like you're not worthy of their time or attention. This kind of environment where you're constantly put down and belittled can leave you feeling isolated and unworthy of love, respect, or success. The good news is, once you recognize this pattern, you can take steps to protect yourself. The first step is to stop internalizing the criticism and undermining. Remind yourself that their words do not define your worth. You have the right to stand tall and believe in your own abilities, regardless of what they say. If their criticism doesn't help you grow or become better, then it's not constructive, it's toxic. Setting boundaries is also crucial. If someone is constantly undermining you or making you feel like you're not good enough, you have every right to speak up and stand firm. Let them know that you will not tolerate unnecessary criticism or belittling behavior. Be clear about your boundaries and refuse to accept treatment that makes you feel small or insignificant. And remember, you deserve people in your life who lift you up, not tear you down. True friends, family, and partners will encourage you to be your best self, and they will help you grow without making you feel less than. They will celebrate your successes with you and offer support when you need it, not through constant criticism, but through love, encouragement, and respect. You have the power to choose who you allow in your life, and you are worthy of relationships that build you up rather than tear you down. Constant criticism and undermining can be incredibly painful. But once you recognize them for what they are, you can begin to protect yourself. Your self-worth does not depend on anyone's approval but your own. You are enough just as you are. Don't let anyone take that away from you. Dishonesty and lack of transparency are two of the most toxic traits in any relationship, and they can be incredibly damaging both to your trust in others and to your sense of self. At first, dishonesty may come in small forms, an omission here, a half-truth there. You might overlook it or dismiss it as unimportant, thinking that everyone makes mistakes or that it's not a big deal. But as these moments of dishonesty accumulate, they begin to erode the foundation of trust that any healthy relationship should be built upon. A lack of transparency creates an environment where you're left in the dark, constantly guessing about the truth. When someone withholds information, lies by omission, or deliberately keeps you out of the loop, it causes confusion and doubt. The absence of clarity means that you can never be sure of where you stand or what's really going on. You may find yourself constantly questioning their motives, intentions, or the reality of the situation. The more this goes on, the more you begin to feel like you're walking through a fog, unsure of what's true and what's fabricated. Dishonesty doesn't always have to be blatant. Sometimes it's the small lies that add up over time, the little things that don't seem like a big deal on the surface. They may tell you that they were somewhere when they weren't. Or they might make promises they have no intention of keeping. These small deceptions might seem harmless at first, but they build up a pattern. They create cracks in the trust that can eventually cause the whole relationship to crumble. And each time you catch them in a lie, you feel a little more disillusioned, a little more disconnected from the person you thought you knew. The real danger, though, comes when dishonesty becomes a tool for manipulation. If someone is constantly lying or withholding information, it's often a way to control you. By keeping you in the dark, they can manipulate your decisions, emotions, and actions. You might find yourself second guessing what you're told, questioning if you've been misled or lied to. This creates a power imbalance where they hold all the information and you're left trying to make decisions without a full understanding of the truth. When dishonesty is paired with a lack of transparency, it creates a toxic cycle of uncertainty and emotional turmoil. You may start to feel like you can't trust anything they say, or worse, like you can't trust your own judgment. The constant doubt wears you down, making you feel like you're always on edge, waiting for the next lie or hidden truth to be uncovered. In this environment, it becomes difficult to feel secure because there's no foundation of honesty to fall back on. Instead of feeling supported, you feel like you're navigating a relationship built on deceit. The longer you stay in a situation where dishonesty reigns, the more difficult it becomes to break free from it. It's like trying to see through a fog. You know there's truth somewhere, but it's hard to find it amidst the haze of lies. But the truth is, honesty is the bedrock of any healthy relationship. Without it, there's no foundation for connection, understanding, or real intimacy. You can't truly trust someone if they're not being transparent with you, if they're hiding things or intentionally deceiving you. Without honesty, relationships become frail, hollow, and fragile, and you're left with more questions than answers. When faced with dishonesty and lack of transparency, the most important thing you can do is protect your own peace. Trust your instincts and start paying attention to the warning signs. If something feels off, if you feel like you're not being given the full story, take a step back and reflect. You don't have to tolerate a relationship where trust is consistently broken. A healthy, strong relationship should be built on transparency, where both parties are honest and open, where there is no need to hide anything because both people trust each other completely. If someone is unwilling to be honest with you, if they continually deceive you or hide information, it's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them. They are not valuing you, your feelings, or your right to know the truth. And while it can be difficult to walk away, especially when you've invested time and energy into the relationship, it's important to recognize that you deserve so much more. You deserve honesty, transparency, and a relationship where trust isn't constantly in question. In the end, remember this: honesty is not just a virtue, it's a necessity for healthy relationships. When someone is being dishonest or hiding things from you, it's a red flag that should never be ignored. The truth will always come out, and when it does, you deserve to be in a position where you can handle it with confidence because you've built a relationship based on honesty and mutual respect. You have the right to expect transparency and the truth at all times, and anything less is not something you have to accept. Jealousy and possessiveness are toxic emotions that can slowly suffocate a relationship, turning what could have been a healthy connection into something controlling and emotionally draining. At first, you may not even realize it's happening. You might brush off small moments of jealousy as normal or chalk them up to temporary insecurities, but when these emotions begin to intensify, they start to take on a darker, more destructive form. What seems like a harmless reaction at first can quickly spiral into something that undermines your sense of independence, your freedom, and your confidence. Possessiveness often accompanies jealousy. And it's when someone begins to view you less as an individual and more as their property. They start to treat you like you belong to them, and anytime you make a move outside of what they deem acceptable, they become upset or controlling. Possessiveness can manifest in different ways, wanting to know your whereabouts at all times, demanding constant attention, or even dictating who you should spend time with. It can escalate into an unhealthy need for control, where they want to monitor your every action and make decisions for you. One of the most damaging aspects of jealousy and possessiveness is how it manipulates your emotions. When someone is constantly accusing you of being unfaithful or making you feel guilty for simply living your life, it creates confusion. You begin to question your actions, your relationships, and your intentions. You might even start to feel guilty for things you've done nothing wrong, simply because they've made you believe that you're doing something wrong. This emotional manipulation can make you feel trapped, like you're not allowed to do anything without their approval or permission. In the worst cases, it can leave you feeling as though you're responsible for their insecurities and emotional well-being. Possessiveness can also lead to emotional abuse. A person who is possessive may try to isolate you from friends and family, saying things like, I don't like how they treat you, or you spend too much time with them, and it's coming between us. They create a situation where you feel like your relationships with others are under constant scrutiny and pressure. Gradually, you start to pull away from the people who care about you, leaving you more isolated and dependent on the person who is possessive. They know that the less support you have from others, the more control they can have over you. Recognizing jealousy and possessiveness for what they are is the first step in reclaiming your sense of self and freedom. These behaviors are not expressions of love. They are rooted in fear and insecurity. Love should empower, not control. You deserve to be in a relationship where you feel free to be yourself, where your connections with others are respected, and where your individuality is celebrated. You deserve to be trusted, supported, and given the space to grow. Gaslighting is one of the most insidious forms of manipulation, as it works by distorting your perception of reality and making you question your own sanity. It begins subtly and can escalate over time, often leaving you feeling confused, disoriented, and powerless. At its core, gaslighting involves one person deliberately altering or denying the truth to manipulate another person into doubting their own memory, perception, or judgment. It's a form of psychological abuse that erodes your confidence in your own mind, making it difficult to trust yourself and your experiences. The most alarming aspect of gaslighting is that it often starts small. It can begin with little lies or comments that leave you questioning whether you remember something correctly. For instance, someone might tell you that never happened or you're overreacting. When you bring up a situation that clearly took place, these remarks, while seemingly harmless in the moment, plant seeds of doubt in your mind. They make you start to wonder if you are indeed misremembering things, or if you're being too sensitive or irrational. The more these comments are repeated, the more they chip away at your confidence in your own ability to perceive the truth. As time goes on, the gaslighting intensifies. The person doing the gaslighting may begin to manipulate situations to make you feel like you're losing control over your thoughts and memories. They might twist facts, deny things that were said or done, and even present alternate versions of events that never took place. The goal is to create confusion and make you question what's real. When you start to doubt your own recollection of events, you become more vulnerable to their version of the truth. Gaslighting can also take the form of making you feel like you're going crazy or losing your mind. The manipulator may accuse you of being forgetful or unstable, even when you've done nothing wrong. They might mock you, calling you paranoid or overly emotional when you express your feelings. This kind of behavior leaves you feeling like you're the problem, that maybe there's something wrong with you for feeling confused or upset. It becomes increasingly difficult to trust your own instincts because the gaslighter has made you question everything: your memory, your thoughts, your perceptions. One of the most damaging aspects of gaslighting is the emotional toll it takes on you. Over time, it erodes your self-esteem and creates a state of constant self-doubt. You begin to feel insecure, unsure of your own worth, and dependent on the gaslighter for validation. The confusion and self-questioning make it difficult to navigate your relationship with them, as they manipulate situations to always make you feel like you're in the wrong. No matter how many times you try to express your concerns or make sense of what's happening, they will always deflect, deny, or distort the truth to maintain control. In some cases, gaslighting may escalate to the point where the manipulator creates an alternate reality in which you are always the villain. They may accuse you of things you never did or say things about you that are entirely untrue. When you challenge them, they will continue to deny, twist, and distort facts, leaving you in a state of constant frustration and helplessness. You become so consumed with trying to make sense of what's happening that you lose sight of your own well-being. It's a cycle of confusion and emotional instability that is difficult to escape from. It's important to recognize gaslighting for what it is: manipulation designed to control and destabilize you. If you find yourself in a situation where someone is constantly denying your experiences, making you question your memory, or telling you that you're overreacting, it's crucial to take a step back and assess the situation with a clear mind. Trust your instincts and don't allow someone else to rewrite your reality. If you feel like you're being gaslit, it's essential to document what's happening. Keep track of conversations, events, and your own thoughts and feelings. This can help you regain a sense of clarity and recognize patterns in the manipulative behavior. It's also helpful to talk to trusted friends or family members who can provide a different perspective and remind you of the truth. Seeking professional support, such as therapy, can also be a vital step in breaking free from gaslighting. A therapist can help you rebuild your confidence, regain trust in your own perception, and learn strategies to protect yourself from further manipulation. Therapy can also help you understand the dynamics of the situation and give you the tools to set boundaries with the person who is gaslighting you. Ultimately, gaslighting is about power and control. The person doing the gaslighting wants to make you feel small, powerless, and dependent on them. But you have the strength within you to fight back. You don't have to accept this behavior. You deserve to trust your own experiences, your memories, and your feelings. No one has the right to distort your reality or make you feel like you're losing your mind. Recognizing gaslighting and taking steps to protect yourself is the first step in reclaiming your personal power and breaking free from the toxic influence of someone who seeks to control your mind. Lack of empathy is one of the most damaging traits in any relationship, whether it's romantic, familial, or professional. Empathy at its core is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It's about being able to step into someone else's shoes and truly grasp their emotions, struggles, and needs. When someone lacks empathy, they are unable or unwilling to connect with others on this deep emotional level. This inability to empathize can create a cold, distant atmosphere where feelings are disregarded and the emotional needs of others are neglected or even ignored entirely. The absence of empathy often manifests in behaviors that can feel dismissive or callous. When you're going through something difficult, a person lacking empathy might belittle your feelings or respond with indifference. They may minimize your struggles by saying things like, "It's not that big of a deal," or "You'll get over it in these moments." Instead of offering comfort or understanding, they push you to disregard your emotions and move on without the space to process them. This can make you feel alone in your experience, as if your feelings are invalid or unimportant. A person with no empathy might also fail to notice or respond to the emotional cues of others. They may not pick up on subtle signs that someone is upset, anxious, or in need of support. Instead of offering a comforting word or a listening ear, they might continue to focus on themselves or their own needs, completely oblivious to how others are feeling. This lack of awareness can be incredibly isolating. It's as if you're emotionally invisible to them, and your emotional well-being doesn't register on their radar. In these cases, it can be easy to feel like you're giving and giving, only to receive nothing in return. In relationships, this lack of empathy can lead to repeated emotional neglect. Empathy is foundational to healthy communication and mutual understanding, but without it, misunderstandings become more frequent and deeper emotional rifts can develop. When one person continually ignores the emotional needs of the other, the relationship can feel one-sided. It can be as though your partner, friend, or family member is constantly taking from you emotionally without offering anything meaningful in return. Over time, this imbalance creates a sense of emotional depletion. One person is giving while the other is simply taking, and the emotional connection becomes fractured. This lack of empathy can also lead to a severe lack of support when you're facing challenges or difficult times. A person without empathy may be indifferent to your struggles, fail to acknowledge the emotional weight you're carrying, or even become frustrated with you for feeling upset. They might make statements like, "Why are you so upset over this?" or "Just get over it," dismissing your pain as something to be easily fixed or ignored. In these moments, you're left feeling unsupported, unheard, and like your emotional experience doesn't matter. The absence of empathy can also show itself in more harmful ways, such as in the form of selfishness or cruelty. People who lack empathy may exploit others for their own benefit without any concern for how their actions affect those around them. They may manipulate or take advantage of someone's kindness, knowing that the other person won't be able to stand up for themselves because they are too focused on being kind or helpful. In extreme cases, individuals without empathy can even cause emotional or psychological harm by intentionally exploiting someone's vulnerabilities for their own gain. In these situations, the lack of empathy is not just about ignoring feelings, it's about actively disregarding the humanity of others and treating them as objects to be used for personal benefit. Moreover, a lack of empathy in conflict situations can make resolution nearly impossible. When two people disagree, empathy allows each person to understand the other's point of view, even if they don't agree with it. But without empathy, arguments can devolve into one-sided exchanges where one person is solely focused on their own perspective, dismissing the other's feelings or concerns. The result is an inability to come to a resolution or compromise. It becomes an ongoing struggle where one person's feelings and needs are consistently disregarded, leaving the other feeling unheard and unloved. Another destructive aspect of a lack of empathy is its impact on your own self-esteem. When your emotions are repeatedly dismissed, belittled, or ignored, you may start to internalize the idea that your feelings are not worthy of attention or care. You might begin to question your worth, doubting your right to be heard or supported. Over time, this can lead to feelings of inadequacy or a sense that you're not important to the person who is failing to show empathy. It can be damaging to your confidence and make you feel like your emotional needs are too much or that you're somehow not deserving of kindness or understanding. The absence of empathy can also contribute to a lack of trust. Trust is built on the understanding that someone will be there for you, especially when you're vulnerable. However, when a person consistently fails to show empathy, you start to question their intentions. You begin to wonder if they truly care about your well-being or if they are simply indifferent to your needs. This erodes trust and creates a barrier between you and the person who should be your source of support. Recognizing a lack of empathy is crucial because it allows you to understand the emotional landscape of your relationship. It helps you realize that some behaviors are not just misunderstandings, they are indicative of deeper issues that cannot be ignored. Empathy is not just a virtue, it's an essential component of healthy, meaningful relationships. Without it, relationships become transactional, emotionally empty, and ultimately unsustainable. You deserve to be with people who can connect with you on an emotional level, who will listen to your struggles, celebrate your triumphs, and show you the kindness and understanding you need to thrive. If someone repeatedly shows a lack of empathy, it's important to recognize that this is not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of their inability to emotionally engage with others in a healthy way. In these situations, it's essential to protect your emotional health and seek relationships where empathy flows freely, where your emotions are respected, and where you can feel heard and understood. Setting boundaries is essential in dealing with someone who uses charm as a means to an end. It's important to communicate clearly when you feel like their behavior is crossing a line. If they respect your boundaries, it's a good sign that their intentions may be genuine. But if they push against your boundaries or try to make you feel guilty for asserting yourself, that's a red flag. A person who refuses to take accountability for their actions creates a toxic environment for those around them. Accountability is a core component of healthy relationships and personal growth. It involves acknowledging one's mistakes, taking responsibility for their behavior, and striving to make amends when necessary. However, when someone consistently avoids taking responsibility, it can lead to a constant cycle of blame, defensiveness, and manipulation, making it difficult for others to trust them or feel secure in their interactions with them. In many cases, someone who lacks accountability will try to manipulate the situation to avoid facing the consequences of their actions. They may gaslight others, making them question their version of events. By doing so, they redirect attention away from their own behavior, leaving others feeling confused or guilty. They may claim that their actions were justified or that others misunderstood what happened. They could also play the victim, shifting the focus away from their own shortcomings and making it seem as though they are the ones being wronged. This manipulation can make it harder for others to address the issue because the person refusing to take responsibility has created a smokescreen of excuses and blame. In relationships, this lack of accountability can be especially damaging. It's nearly impossible to build trust with someone who consistently refuses to admit their mistakes. Without accountability, there is no room for reconciliation or resolution. If every disagreement or issue is met with deflection and denial, it creates a sense of emotional insecurity, where one person is constantly left feeling unheard, invalidated, or unsupported. It fosters an environment where communication breaks down and the relationship becomes increasingly unstable. It's also emotionally exhausting for the person on the receiving end, as they are left to navigate the relationship while constantly feeling like they are the only one trying to make things right. In some cases, the lack of accountability can be a result of deeper issues, such as insecurity or fear of rejection. For some people, admitting fault can feel like an attack on their character or an admission of weakness. They may avoid accountability because they are afraid of being judged or criticized, or because they fear that taking responsibility will make them appear inferior. Instead of confronting their own imperfections, they may choose to remain defensive, protecting their ego at the expense of the other person's feelings and the health of the relationship. This fear can prevent them from growing emotionally or learning from their mistakes. Over time, this behavior can lead to resentment. The person who is constantly left to shoulder the blame or repair the damage caused by someone else's refusal to take responsibility will start to feel bitter and unappreciated. They may begin to feel like they are always the one making sacrifices, constantly giving and compromising, while the other person remains detached and unaffected by their own actions. This imbalance can erode the connection between the two individuals and create a cycle of frustration and emotional distance. A lack of accountability can also harm someone's reputation in broader social or professional circles. If a person consistently avoids taking responsibility for their actions, others may start to view them as unreliable, dishonest, or selfish. This can impact their ability to build meaningful relationships, both personally and professionally, as people begin to lose trust in their word and actions. Over time, their behavior may become known to others, leading to a loss of respect and credibility. The individual may find themselves increasingly isolated as others begin to distance themselves from someone who refuses to accept responsibility for their behavior. One of the most difficult aspects of dealing with someone who refuses to take accountability is that it can feel like an endless cycle. The person may continue to make excuses, shift blame, and avoid facing the consequences of their actions. This can leave the other person feeling trapped in a relationship that isn't moving forward, where progress is constantly stalled by the unwillingness to confront the truth. As a result, the person who is seeking accountability may begin to question their own role in the relationship, wondering if they are being too demanding or if they are simply expecting too much. But in reality, the issue lies in the other person's refusal to own up to their behavior. To break free from this cycle, it's important to establish clear boundaries and insist on open, honest communication. While it may be difficult to get someone to take accountability for their actions, especially if they are unwilling to reflect on their own behavior, it is essential to protect your own emotional well-being. If someone continues to avoid responsibility and manipulate the situation, it may be necessary to distance yourself from them in order to maintain your own sense of integrity and emotional health. Ultimately, you deserve to be in relationships where accountability is mutual, where both parties are willing to admit their mistakes, learn from them, and move forward together. Without accountability, relationships can become toxic and progress can be stunted, leaving both individuals stuck in a pattern of defensiveness and unresolved issues.